This is Never Close the Inquiry with Nick Hagan. Welcome to a very special episode of the podcast. We're here. We're going to talk about Christopher Nolan. The theme, the title of today's podcast, unless the recording goes quite differently from how I envision it going, will be Why Christopher Nolan Matters.
I think that'll be a very interesting topic to explore. Do you want me to introduce myself?
I can introduce you, or you can introduce yourself.
I'll let you introduce me.
Okay, so guest on the podcast today is Dr. Justin Coles, who is, among other things, the personal physician for, I think, pretty much all the neophytes.
I think so.
Okay,
if
great.
I'm breaking HIPAA, I don't know.
I don't know either. Yeah, whatever. Voluntary disclosure, at least on my part, and then we'll neither confirm nor deny with respect to Channing Mabes. Longtime childhood friend. We went to elementary school together and all that, back when your hair was white blonde and very straight. And you are, of all my friends, the biggest film nerd, I think would be
I would say
a fair appellation.
Yeah.
You majored in film.
Correct.
Despite the fact that you went to med school.
Right, yes.
And did you get a minor in biology or anything like that?
No, I
just stacked up your...
Just did film.
Okay. Yeah. And I actually, I starred in a very brief student film you made.
Right.
It's like one shot. Remember,
what was the one that we did?
The tracking shot with the crane.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. We were down.
Where were we?
So we were downtown, and we decided to shoot at some train tracks.
Yeah.
If you remember, and we had to dig for some treasure.
Was I an explorer? What was I?
Yeah. You were following some maps, and
okay.
One of the other neophytes, Thomas Maybe, was there, and he drew one of the maps that you discover.
Right.
That you dug up. He was off on to the side as we were setting up, and he was drawing this map that I kept for years. I think I gave it to him. Whether he still has it, I don't know. But
it's quite the memento.
Yeah, I had it forever because I thought that's pretty cool. So yeah, you dug that up. We could probably find it. I don't know if it's online anymore.
No need.
But and then you ran, and we had this
the cool crane.
Yeah, that I had made from all the Home Depot parts.
Is that like PVC pipe?
It was like fencing, like metal fencing, but I'd found online a way to build it. So yeah, I forgot that you were in that one.
Yeah.
That we almost got arrested, if you remember.
I do not remember that
part.
Yeah,
cops showed up because we were not supposed to be, because it was an active railroad area, and so we were supposed to not be there. And he said, you guys got to leave. And I somehow convinced him to let us do one more take. And so we did that.
I forgot that.
Yeah. So I forgot that we did that one, but that is bringing back all the memories. And when I come into Salt Lake, I see where we shot all the time as I'm coming on I-15 heading south.
Wow.
So, yeah.
All right. There you go. That's okay. So that's much like Christopher Nolan's undergrad experience.
Correct.
In
Which
London.
I think we'll get into. Yeah.
We very well may. So yeah, perhaps we can start with that. I'll turn to you. Okay. And part of the reason to have you on this podcast specifically to talk about Christopher Nolan is not just that you are a film nerd who majored in film, but Christopher Nolan is your favorite director and has been for a long time.
Correct, yeah.
And if I recall correctly, just from knowing you personally and from looking at your Dr. Bio page, your favorite film is The Prestige.
You got it. I forgot that it's on that bio page,
The Prestige being a relatively early Nolan film.
Right.
Came out when we were in high school.
Right.
And I think it is not one of the films I've seen the most. There are a few other films that I'll talk about later in the podcast that would be on that list. But it is one of the two films I have seen most in other people's company.
Interesting. Was I
in
one of those?
Often in your company.
Okay.
Yeah. So in high school, I felt like whenever people got together and we didn't have anything active to do, which was somewhat common.
Often, yes.
We would watch one of Anchorman or The Prestige.
I think that was accurate. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think there was one time we were at my parents' house. I don't know if you were there, but I think Logan Jameson, Dane Philpott, other people from high school that we went to, but we watched shout out to them. We were looking for something to watch, and I said, we're gonna pop on the Prestige. I think
Yeah.
that was like the go-to
Yeah.
movie that I would recommend.
The last time I think we watched that was at senior prom.
Oh, was
And-
it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. For those of you, from out of state who don't have a ton of experience going to high school in Utah, because of the kind of predominant LDS culture, dances here we have more of them in high school, and they're different. Yeah, dance activities are different. So you could find alcohol if you wanted to at the right place, but for our group of friends, it was very, very tame. But then a lot of planning would go into these things.
Right, yeah.
So senior prom that day, I think we had like field games during the day. Then you go to the dinner, then you go to the dance, and then after we had laser tag and then an outdoor movie.
Yeah. It's a late night.
Yeah, late night.
Yeah.
Okay. Anyway, let's get a little bit of background on Sir Christopher Nolan.
Let's do it.
Okay. Can you? So where's he from, Justin?
So he is. So it's interesting. He has a little bit of an interesting background. So he is originally from England, but he has parents that are from England and then Illinois. So that's
Okay.
which is interesting just based on his makeup, and we'll get into him
Yeah.
a little bit of his history and his colleagues that he works with, namely his brother, which plays a role. So yeah, I have my trusty dossier, should I say, is Wikipedia. So I have this up. So yeah, he was born in 1970. His parents, Brendan James Nolan, was a British advertising executive of Irish descent, who worked as a creative director. His mother, Christina Jensen, was a former American flight attendant from Evanston, Illinois. And she worked as
Just north of Chicago.
Just north of Chicago. She worked as a teacher of English, which will come into play, as we'll learn with Sir Christopher Nolan. And he's a sir, as we'll find out.
Just a little closer.
A little closer.
Yeah.
So yeah, they married, and then they had 3 kids, Matthew being the oldest, and then Christopher, and then his younger brother, Jonathan, who is one of...
That's interesting because 2 of those names I know quite well. Matthew, I don't.
Yeah, I didn't know that until now. Yeah, because we know Christopher, and then we know Jonathan. Jonathan, namely, because especially his early films, Christopher's early films, Jonathan was either a writing partner or producing partner quite a bit. So what's interesting, why I bring up the English and American aspect, is Christopher Nolan has an English accent. Because I think primarily, as we'll find out, he was raised in England, whereas his brother has an American accent. And I think spent most of his time here in the U.S. with his mom. So they have these interesting accent differences, even though they're brothers and have worked together quite a bit. So, yeah. So I think they spent most of their time, especially Christopher, in England or the UK, and then summers here in the U.S. So primarily over there during his childhood. So, yes, that's a little bit of his history.
So he grows up primarily in England, but he does have this kind of back and forth across the pond.
Correct. Yeah.
And then for college, did you go to UCL?
Yeah.
Okay.
University College London.
University College London.
Yes.
Okay. And there he meets his future wife.
Emma Thomas.
Okay.
Yes.
His producing partner.
Since I think they started. Yeah, because I think they met pretty early on when he got to college there.
Yeah.
And then I think they.
And
yeah.
Well, one thing that's notable about him relative to a lot of other directors is that the vast majority of the movies he directs, like almost all of them, he also writes or co-writes.
Right. Yeah.
And does he have a writing background?
I think a lot of it was just his education at UCL in London was in English. Okay. That was what he did, going back to his mom, who was also
an English
teacher, right?
Yeah. Okay.
But yeah, I think he did that primarily to maybe write, but I don't think his background is necessarily writing, but I think based on what I have read and interviews and things like that, he was advised by his dad to maybe do something outside of filmmaking to just broaden his horizons, as it were. Because he always wanted to make movies from what I've read in his history, but doing that, I think, helped just to get a broader sense of literature and subjects and stuff like that. So I don't think he was necessarily going to do writing, but I think that has helped with the scripts, because he primarily, except for maybe 1 or 2, has written those movies.
He did. He directed Insomnia, but didn't write it.
Correct, yeah.
And then other than that, I believe he wrote or co-wrote everything.
Right, yeah. Or rewrote some, as we'll get to later on. films.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. And so maybe. Okay. So let's just briefly let's run through. I need to plug Insomnia in there. Let's talk through just so people have a sense of the timeline and the sense of his library, so to speak.
Yeah.
So his first feature film that comes out was a low budget movie called The Following.
Right.
And I think it comes out in 1997, something like that.
97 or 98, yes.
Okay.
Late 90s, yeah.
Late 90s. And I actually have not seen it.
Oh, you haven't? Okay.
Can you describe very briefly the plot of this film?
Yeah, so it's the main character is a writer who is looking for some inspiration for his works and to write, and the way that he decides to do that is by just choosing someone in the crowd and following them. And one of the
Just an interesting idea,
right?
Actually,
yeah. And then he begins to follow someone that ends up sort of being a criminal, like burgling.
Okay.
Burglarizing.
Yeah, burgling.
Yeah, one of them.
Taking
houses.
their stuff.
Yeah. So he follows him and sort of gets into this like criminal underworld as much as a low budget, shoestring budget feature will allow, because they shot it on like weekends with just friends and things like that. So
yeah.
But it was an interesting premise to be his feature.
Wait, so I mean, this is funny because here we are. So I'm a lawyer. You're a doctor. I obviously quit my job for a while to write. We're recording the podcast still, and still writing, still doing a lot of these things. But so Nolan at this time, like this is when he's first breaking in. So if that comes out 98, 97, 98, he's filming this. That they're doing this when he's in his late 20s.
Right. Yeah.
And at this point, he has not, like, within a few years, he was directing major films.
Right. Yep.
But at that point, he was not.
Yeah.
And, it's actually crazy. So he went from, so in consecutive features, he went from a movie filming on weekends with friends around day jobs,
right.
full-time day jobs.
Borrowing equipment from college.
Yeah. Goes from filming that to doing Memento.
Yeah.
The next film comes out in 2000.
2000, yeah. Yeah, it's just a couple years
starring
later.
Guy Pearce.
Joe
Pantoliano.
Yeah.
Carrie-Anne Moss.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like major
right.
people.
Yeah.
At a point, and the Carrie-Anne Moss, like, she hadn't been in a ton of stuff for a while, but she and Joe Pantoliano, like right then, are in The Matrix.
Right.
Like, this is a major period. This is a career peak for both of them.
Right.
How does that happen? I don't know if you know the answer to that.
I don't know how it happens. I know I found an interesting quote, actually, because we know where he is now in 2026, just directing these huge things, right? And there's been these step-ups as he's directed these huge films, but he said, this is back in 2012, between his jump from Following to Memento, he said, the difference between shooting Following with a group of friends wearing our own clothes and my mom making sandwiches to spend $4 million of somebody else's money on Memento and having a crew of 100 people is to this day by far the biggest leap I've ever made. So going just to that is just huge, which I can imagine. Like we've shot, as you know, some short things and with 4 people at a time, and then to suddenly be in charge of a lot of people, I think would be huge. So how he jumped to that, I don't know, other than they had this idea, he and Jonathan, his brother, that I think caught the attention of a lot of executives at a studio.
For Memento.
Memento, yeah.
Well, and to be clear, so Following was reviewed well.
Yeah.
It came out very low budget.
Yeah.
All that, but it was a good movie.
It was good.
Critics.
Yeah.
People who saw it, festivals, sure.
Yeah.
It wouldn't have made much money at all.
Correct, yeah.
But, okay, so his next movie, they write, he and his brother, they write Memento. Or his brother writes it?
I think his brother wrote a short story.
Okay, and then
they adapted it. Yeah, okay. He and his brother into this.
Okay, so can you, what's, in 3 sentences, what's Memento about?
Memento is, so it is the main character, played by Guy Pearce, has retrograde amnesia from a brain injury.
Yeah.
And his wife was murdered, and he is searching for the person who murdered his wife by trying to string together clues while also having persistent memory loss. And so he's trying to piece these things together. And I think that's an interesting idea in and of itself. I think the setup of the film, where you see it moving
kind of goes
forwards
backwards,
and it goes forwards and backwards and meets in the middle, is I think such a I'll say revolutionary, but just something that I don't think was really seen a lot at the time.
Yeah.
So it was a big draw for audiences. Yeah.
So like even at that point, because Nolan now, I would say, it's kind of firmly established. He likes to play with timeline.
Right.
And he likes to play with things that don't necessarily they're not necessarily easy for the audience.
Right.
He's not laying things out in a linear fashion with a ton of exposition where it's like, here's XYZ, how it happens.
Right.
Like you get exposition depending on the film.
Right. Yep.
But there is a lot of messing with the story in ways that
It's
can
nonlinear.
Yeah. Right.
Quite frequently.
Yeah.
I think thinking back, there's probably only like the Batman films that are sort of linear, but they still have a lot of flashbacks in them.
Yeah. Batman Begins has a ton of flashbacks.
Yeah.
And
Dark
then,
Knight's not so much. Dark Knight Rises has some that we'll get to.
Yeah.
But yes.
But those are more linear. Probably.
Right. I mean, compared to the ones that are really non-linear, it's like those are tame.
Yeah, right. Okay. So Memento. So he goes. So first, there's a movie shot on the weekends with friends. They do it, the festival circuit. I'm sure it didn't make hardly any money at all. Then Memento, starring people who are not necessarily true A-list actors, but are kind of at their respective peaks.
Right.
Because Guy Pearce. This is 3 years after L.A. Confidential.
Yeah.
He's which is by the way a great movie.
Yeah. They're all well known.
Yeah,
for sure.
They're all well known.
Yeah.
Big actors and actresses. And then he directs 2002. This is the only film he didn't write.
With Insomnia.
Yeah. Starring Al Pacino.
Have you seen this?
I have not.
Okay. Also,
His early oeuvre I'm not familiar with, so
I would recommend it.
Okay.
It certainly is one where, looking back at all the ones he wrote versus this one, you can tell that there maybe is not him as the writer, but you sort of get his style in it. But the overall plot is 2 detectives are sent from, I think, California up to Alaska to investigate a murder. And Insomnia because it's in Alaska where during the summer the sun doesn't set, and so sort of having to deal with that. Also with very big names, I think Al Pacino is in it. Robin Williams, I forget the other.
Also, famous.
Yeah, very famous. Yeah, but yeah, I think it was well regarded as well, and sort of got him an additional stepping stone into
the ones we'll get into now, because he all of a sudden so Insomnia. I would imagine the budget still wasn't overwhelming. It's more about paying the actors than production costs.
Yeah. I think I was looking last night. I think the production is more than I thought it would be, but still low.
Maybe 40.
Yeah, 46.
46 million.
Yeah.
Okay.
You got it. Yeah.
Which so given the names that are in it, probably a good chunk of that is just going to paying your stars.
Sure. Yeah.
Then now, so he talked about how the jump from Following to Memento was the biggest, for him personally, and that makes sense. But the biggest jump, money-wise, is from Insomnia to his next film, Batman Begins.
Yeah.
Which is one of my all-time. There's a difference between the films you think are the absolute best, like that's the best movie I've ever seen, and the films that you watch and rewatch the most. And Batman Begins, for reasons we can get into later, is one of my 3. All 3 of them came out when we were in high school.
Okay.
It would be Batman Begins, Casino Royale, and Iron Man.
Okay.
All 3 on my personal top 3, like most rewatched list.
Yeah.
All great films. But so that had a budget of $150 million.
Yeah.
And is the first thing that really catapults him, I think. That would be fair to say? Catapults him into like mainstream consciousness.
Oh, absolutely.
In a sense.
Yeah, he's certainly becoming more well known, but to go from 1998 to 2005, I think was Batman Begins. 7 years later.
Yeah, or might have been 2004.
One of those years, but regardless,
4 or 5,
to go from this not well known, not established director to helming one of the bigger franchises in Hollywood in Batman,
early mid 30s.
Yeah, is huge.
Yeah,
it's huge. And some context for that, which will play into his most recent film with the Odyssey. He was slated to direct Troy.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, and then the director or the producer decided he wanted to direct it and said,
Wolfgang Peterson.
Pushed Christopher Nolan out, and is sort of a hey, we owe it to you. We'll let you direct something. He came up with this idea for Batman Begins and presented to them this.
Okay, so this is really interesting for a couple of reasons. So first off, Troy, 2004. It was mixed reviews, but I personally, there's a lot of it that's pretty fun and great. It's got an unbelievable cast.
Right. Yep.
Cast looks like it cost about $80 billion.
Yeah.
Just you got Brad Pitt as Achilles, Eric Bana as a glorious Hector, Orlando Bloom as a sniveling Paris.
Yeah.
Brendan Gleeson plays Menelaus. Brian Cox, Agamemnon. Helen is Diane Kruger. You got all these people, and they, it's a like they do a lot to make the Iliad work better for like just a viewing audience.
Right.
So a 10-year war is shortened to about 2 weeks.
Right. Yeah.
But there, and Sean Bean is Odysseus.
Yeah. What a cast! I forgot
all
this.
Rare times that he doesn't die on screen.
Right.
They had Tyler Mane playing Ajax. He's great. Oh, Peter O'Toole plays Priam.
Yeah.
Troy, and is honestly fantastic in the role. Rose Byrne is Briseis. It's really a heck of a cast.
Yeah.
Wow. Dang. Okay. Really quite a cast.
Yeah. I forgot all those until you started listing them off. Yeah.
But also, just to draw some additional context for this, so when Christopher Nolan takes over Batman, and the Batman trilogy he directs is much more serious than prior Batman entries. So the most recent Batman movie had been Batman and Robin.
Yeah.
1997.
Yeah.
George Clooney. Panned, considered one of the worst superhero movies ever made. And there's some serious competition for that.
Right. Yep.
But just horrendous, and it's silly.
Right. Very campy.
Batman is silly, campy, and like the Tim Burton Batmans had they've been better, but also campy.
Right. But darker and grittier. Yeah.
Yeah. But less. Like Jack Nicholson is. Let's put it this way: Jack Nicholson as the Joker is different from Heath Ledger as the Joker.
Right.
Which we'll get to. But anyway, so Batman Begins comes out and gets great reviews.
Yeah.
It's an awesome movie.
Yeah.
And and also different from other Batman films in a couple senses. It's a true origin story, so you don't see Batman on screen. Like you don't see Bruce Wayne as Batman until I think over halfway through the film.
Yeah, I forget the exact time within it, but it's not early.
It's like an hour and 11 minutes into it or something.
Yeah.
And it is one of the most straightforward. There are a lot of flashbacks. It's Nolan in a lot of senses, but it's one of the most straightforward portrayals of Joseph Campbell's hero's journey that I can remember on film. Where you have Bruce Wayne grow up, and then he goes off. He's away for 7 years. He's declared legally dead, and then he comes back. And when he comes back, back to society, he is Batman. Really, he's this fully fledged.
Right. Yeah.
Superhero in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
Any other thoughts you want to say on that?
Well, I'm thinking back to the original premise of today's episode of why Christopher Nolan matters. I think this is a big initial step where he redefines or maybe defines the superhero genre going forward, starting with Batman Begins, because since then you've had origin stories for Iron Man.
Yep.
You've had
America.
Yeah. Spider-Man with Tobey Maguire had come out previously in 2002, I think. Yeah. Maybe earlier, but earlier than Batman Begins. But since then, you've had that reboot and have origin stories now 2 times.
Yeah.
With Andrew Garfield and Tom Holland now, who is in his most recent film.
Yeah.
Interestingly enough. So,
but
I think
and Spider-Man Brand New Day coming out this weekend.
Yeah, this weekend. Yeah. So I think going back to why does he matter, like from that standpoint, it's quite pivotal, right? To just redirect this whole superhero genre and ground it in some degree. Yeah,
and that's something we can get to, especially when we talk about the Dark Knight. There's one movie in the interim we should get to.
Oh yeah.
But so the Spider-Man movies had made a huge amount of money, the Tobey Maguire ones, and they got good reviews, but they were not what you would call like good films in the like snobbish film critic, let's see about awards consideration sense. Whereas, especially with Dark Knight, Christopher Nolan was establishing, like, look, you can make superhero films, and they can be straight up good movies that are like, we'll get to that in just a second.
Yep.
So let's talk. So after Batman Begins, now he's starting to ride high. Now he's a legitimate like big budget director.
Right.
Batman Begins didn't make an unbelievable amount of money, but it made a good amount of money.
Right. I think there's some trepidation from the audiences after
After
Batman and Robin
prior,
and all that.
prior.
Yeah.
It was, they weren't aware, of what was on. And so his next movie is a movie about magicians and a version of Nikola Tesla, like a somewhat supernatural
Right.
version of Nikola Tesla called The Prestige.
The Prestige. Yes.
This is your favorite all-time film.
Yes. Yeah. So I think maybe some history of why.
Okay. Yeah.
So, which I think started my love of film, to be honest. So,
Okay.
Going back even before Batman Begins, I was always a Batman fan.
Right.
But got a little, leery after Batman and Robin. I'd say like, this is weird. Yeah.
Reasonable.
Yeah. And then my older brother went and saw this movie, Batman Begins, and says you should go see it. So I went and saw it. Thought, wow, like that is everything I thought Batman should be.
Yeah.
Everyone has their take on what Batman should be, but I thought that's awesome.
Yeah.
I thought, who's this Christopher Nolan guy? And then a year, I think it was 2006 that The Prestige came out. So just a year or two after Batman Begins, I went and saw it. I was on a double date, and went to the movie. And then after the movie, thought like, I don't care about the date anymore. Like this thing was incredible. Like I think it just defined for me like what movies could be, like something that makes you think and have to pay attention. It's more of an active experience of watching a movie. But that's why I think maybe there's some nostalgia and bias, but it's just like, wow, this like changed my perception of what movies can be. Yeah. Not that was the first one ever, but I think in my young, because I was 16 at the time.
15, 16,
really defined like, it's not just for entertainment. Like you can make something that makes you think and have to work to understand what's going on. But it's interesting to go from this huge franchise in Batman Begins and then go to this sort of very personal project with The Prestige based on a novel.
Yeah.
Have you read the novel? You're familiar with it at all?
I've not read the novel.
Also called The Prestige by Christopher Priest, I think.
Okay.
I've read the novel. I don't know, like, other than just the overarching of, like, there's two magicians battling, like, he just sort of adapted and went his own way, which I thought was interesting. But yeah, I think for me, it was, like, really defining for what movies could be.
So that's interesting. So a couple of other interesting notes about The Prestige. So first, you start to see already that he likes to use the same actors.
Right.
So Christian Bale is Batman, and Christian Bale is one of the two main stars of The Prestige. Michael Caine, Alfred in Batman, and is a major character in The Prestige. Hugh Jackman now shows up.
Scarlett Johansson.
Scarlett Johansson
is in there. Yeah.
Yeah, and oh gosh, I'm forgetting the
Rebecca Hall.
Rebecca Hall.
Yeah.
But a really fun film. Oh, and David Bowie plays Tesla.
Yeah.
And
How
Andy
can we forget?
Serkis plays his servant, whose name I'm forgetting.
Yeah.
Andy Serkis, good for years because he had just come off Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
But it was funny because the whole idea of making the audience think, I also liked that. It's part of what made it a great late high school kind of date and hangout movie in a sense, because especially once we'd all seen it, we knew it well enough that you could kind of come in and out of the story, but then it felt intellectually stimulating in a way that Anchorman didn't necessarily.
Right.
Although I love that too.
Right.
But I at the time was doing a ton of physics. I loved the sciences. My favorite class in high school was AP Physics, and so you have this kind of made up version of Nikola Tesla, who's so cool. And as someone who's learning about the real Nikola Tesla and a lot of what he did at the time, that kind of added to like it being you get the sense that Nolan kind of likes nerd stuff in a fun way.
Yeah.
Like he's not aiming for easy subjects everyone already knows something about.
Yeah. Yeah.
As we'll see, especially with his later films too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Or also with his later films.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I think also, as I've read a little bit about him, I think his standpoint is that science is really interesting to him, and like having something grounded in that. So to take Tesla, this real person, and then sort of make a fictionalized account of that, but still science-based, I think is sort of fascinating to me to sort of think about. Like, he didn't want to base it in reality. I
Yeah.
don't want to give away the movie either for
Right,
those who
no.
have not seen it.
We won't spoil
I'd recommend it.
It's a great,
Yeah.
it's a great film.
But yeah, I thought that was an interesting exploration to take a real person and sort of explore what that
And
would that be.
it also shows his, I think, willingness to adapt. Like, you know, anytime there's an adaptation of something, people fall into a couple of camps where, you know, there are a lot of people that will, whatever you're adapting, will critique any departure from the source material.
As
Christopher
we'll find
Nolan,
out.
we'll find out.
Yeah.
Leaps. It tends to go far from source material, or has repeatedly, and it kind of seems like he doesn't really care. He's just like trying to make the film, he's trying to make the film he wants to make that is good, whether or not you're familiar with the source material or not.
Yeah.
Anyway, so his next movie after Prestige is the one that I think really, really, to the extent he wasn't on the map before, really, really, really cements him, his position on the map.
Yeah.
That's The Dark Knight.
The Dark Knight. Yeah.
Which is, I think, bar none, the best superhero film ever made, and was the first superhero film to really get very serious awards consideration. It's a crying shame. That was still when Academy Awards, you got 5 nominees for Best Picture.
Right. Yeah.
Today, that would have gotten a Best Picture nomination, I think, for sure.
Right. They made they expanded it to 10 because of The Dark Knight.
I didn't know it was because of The Dark Knight.
Yeah, I think it's called like the Dark Knight Rule or something, where they said, man.
So it was within 1 or 2 years after.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it was the next. Yeah. So they expanded it from what everyone says is because of The Dark Knight.
Oh, it's so good.
Yeah. Yeah.
And Heath Ledger wins Best Supporting Actor, the Oscars posthumously.
Correct. Yeah.
He had some trouble, but his portrayal of the Joker is incredible. I mean, it was deservedly award winning. It's a monster of a movie.
Right.
Just a heck of a movie. And well, I'll let you go. One of the first thing that stands out to me about the movie when you're watching it, and I can remember, I think we saw it like opening weekend at Jordan Commons IMAX.
Yeah, we went midnight showing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that opening scene where you're zooming in on this nondescript office building in downtown Gotham, which is this like amalgamation of New York, Chicago, and Pittsburgh.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then the glass blows out. And it's 2 movies in a row in the Batman movies where the opening scene is just unbelievable.
Yeah.
Basically, you know, it's a bank robbery, masterminded, orchestrated by the Joker, and it is it's an incredible scene.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, and kicks off, I think, the tone for that
Yeah,
whole character going with the Joker. Like, oh my gosh, this is a scary
dude. Where everyone in this band of bandits is getting killed the minute their task is done.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, which I think was interesting because, of course, you're going to compare it to going back to Tim Burton and the portrayal of the Joker by Jack Nicholson and Jack Nicholson, excuse me. In that movie, it just seemed like this guy is out for more nefarious purposes than just like revenge for falling into a vat of acid and whatever, going back to that movie. So you just like didn't know who he was. So yeah, it was incredible to see this portrayal, but also just the movie being a departure from even Batman Begins, which still had some supernatural elements, I'll say, and now, you know, with hallucinogenics and things like that and all that. But this is like more, I would say, a crime film that happens to have Batman and the Joker in it, then this is a superhero movie. And it was very grounded in that way, which I think was also, going back to, you know, why does he matter, I think was pushing a lot of the other films in that genre that same way. And a lot of people have tried to copy that. Right. No one with the same degree of success, I don't think. Right. Although this time is when Iron Man came out, same year, 2008. Right. And so that was certainly a little bit of a departure because Marvel was going to go their own way, but it was still sort of grounded. You know, you had Robert Downey Jr. Much more so than many other. Yeah, absolutely. But I think you're seeing a little bit of what he had done with Batman Begins and maybe The Dark Knight to make a more grounded realization of these characters.
Yeah.
For sure, and set it in a world where would be applicable to us.
Yeah.
I think, which I think comes back to a lot of his movies as we'll continue to
Yeah,
explore.
yeah.
Yeah.
Then next up, it's kind of, I mean, he's on an unbelievable heater. It's kind of, it's not a long heater, but this might, for me, these 5 in a row is incredible. So the next one's Inception, which is such a fun, inventive movie.
Yeah.
And it is based on something, is that right?
I don't know 100%. He said it's his own idea. There's some parallels to some other stories, so I'm not sure the actual answer.
But it's the dream within a dream within a dream type stuff.
Right.
And
yeah.
It's really incredible. You have a fantastic cast. Michael Caine's here again. Leonardo DiCaprio. Joseph Gordon-Levitt. Then Ellen Page. Is terrific as Ariadne.
Tom Hardy.
Tom Hardy, another Nolan collaborator, who's awesome.
Yep.
In Inception.
Cillian Murphy.
Yep. That's his second. Yeah, because he's Scarecrow in Batman Begins.
Yep.
Yeah.
Makes a brief appearance in The Dark Knight, the very beginning. So
and Dark Knight Rises.
Yep.
The excellent Cillian Murphy. Gosh, Inception is another one of my I could probably rewatch that a number of times.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. In preparation for this, I've watched parts, and that was one that I put on initially. Yeah, because that came out in 2010.
Yeah.
Which at the time we were
gone.
Yeah.
We were
out of the
both
country.
of us were on missions, other continents.
Yeah, so I was getting letters from family and friends like, "Oh yeah, this movie came out." I was like, "Oh, I know it's coming out."
Yeah.
And within, for those who don't know, when you come home from church mission, you have to be released, and up until that point, you can't be watching movies or anything. So I got released and immediately went downstairs and started watching it. That was the first movie that I watched.
It.
Yeah.
My first movie was Guy Ritchie's Sherlock Holmes.
Also a good one.
Also very fun.
Great.
I think Inception was early. It wasn't my first.
It wasn't your first, yeah. Nope. Yeah. So that was the first one I watched, and it sort of, again.
Oh, what a great first movie back.
Oh,
my gosh.
Yeah, that was an experience, and still is, and it goes more into going back to Memento.
Yeah.
And the prestige of just him messing around with time and nonlinear storytelling, which is in service of the story, because dreams within dreams with different dilation of time and contraction of time, which is his calling card now. I think. Oh,
speaking of other repeat people, Marion Cotillard is in that and is terrific, and then she's in his next film. As well. Inception. Oh, and for people who have not experienced this, we do have listeners who serve missions and kind of have a sense of what this is like. But if you have grown up in America and you have watched a lot of movies, and you've listened to a lot of music and all this sort of stuff, and then you do not do that for 2 years, the first movie back is unbelievable. It's like, I remember when I was in Albania, it's funny because this is a slight side tangent, which is, totally fine. It's the spirit of the podcast. I remember in Albania, my first area, we didn't really have, there might have been elsewhere in the city, but we didn't have large grocery stores. So you're shopping in a kind of a mart most of the time. And then my second area, there was a lovely large grocery store, with a butcher section, a fishmonger section, all that in a mall. And the first time I walked in, it was one of the most I was overwhelmed. It's kind of the point where you almost sink to your knees, just overwhelmed by the plenty.
Yeah.
And it kind of had that feeling watching. For me, it was Guy Ritchie's Sherlock Holmes. But you're having this watching Inception.
Yeah.
Just, what a film to come back to.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm trying to think back to. I just oh man, so many things I could say, but we don't have enough time for it. But I think it, again, going to why he matters. I think to the filmscape. Yeah. Granted, this is more maybe from a soundscape perspective, because he begins or has been collaborating with Hans Zimmer. Going back to Batman Begins. Yep. And then going up to this, they have this soundscape that they create with these horns and orchestral stuff, and that becomes pivotal or inserted a lot into trailers and other movies as well. And so that influence is felt, I think, a lot, and still to this day. I think it's dying down, but there was a time for years afterwards where it's like, man, that's an Inception.
And I wonder, and this is just a question, I don't know the answer to this, but he, since Tenet, has used Ludwig van Göransson.
Göransson, yeah. Yeah.
And I wonder if, as he has, for the last 6 years used a different composer, if that's some reason for the influence of the 2000s and 2010s Hans Zimmer sounds dying off. I don't know. Anyway, Inception, unbelievable film. And also, sorry, working through one of our sponsors, A&W Zero Sugar Root Beer. Delicious. Just a cool film. Like a really cool, inventive, exciting kind of spy sort of caper that you can watch a bunch.
Oh, yeah. Rewatchability, which I think becomes a big staple.
Very high.
For him. I mean, has been, but I think is still, to this day, like you could go back and watch a lot of his films and and gain something new every time.
Yeah. And gain something new. And there's two things, I think, primary things that make a film rewatchable. One is that there's new stuff you might notice. It's like there's just a cool, a cool thing. So an especially complex. I don't want to say especially complex plot, but new things you can notice every time to make each viewing fresh.
Yeah,
and then also, most of his films are not too emotionally heavy. I think there are some that are emotionally heavier, but they're not too emotionally heavy.
Yeah,
there are directors who and writers who write and direct, and some people really like emotionally heavy films.
Yeah,
those can be great. They are not my favorite personally, partially because life is emotional enough,
right?
So I don't necessarily want to go watch. The film that comes to mind is Marriage Story.
Oh,
which is a film about a marriage collapsing, and you get a lot of arguing between the husband and wife. Doesn't seem like a fun.
Right.
It could be very good. Could be unbelievable. Pass.
It's a heavy film.
Heavy film.
Sure. Yeah.
And there are a lot of heavy films which are very good and very important, but they're like one-time watches. Like no one is like, yeah, I watch Schindler's List like once a month. It's like that's interesting.
Yeah.
It's a little strange. It's more, there are some of these great iconic films that are kind of more one-time watches.
Yeah.
Whereas Inception, it's like, is it as good as Schindler's List? Probably not really in the same way, but you could watch it like 25 times.
Right.
And
be entertained.
And be entertained.
Yeah. Not that Schindler's List is not entertaining, but it's going for different
different
tone. Yeah, absolutely.
Very different.
Yeah.
And if someone, on a Friday night, you go over to your friend's house and you don't have a strong opinion about what you should watch, and someone says, let's watch Inception. You're like, all right. And someone says, let's watch Schindler's List. And you're like, okay, I got to muscle up
right,
for this.
Yeah.
I could have used a little prep. Okay, so Inception, and then completes the trilogy, Dark Knight Rises.
Dark Knight Rises, yeah.
Which has another, I think, incredible villain in Tom Hardy's Bane.
It's Bane, yeah.
And it has another incredible kind of opening practical sequence where Bane and his henchmen take over a CIA plane.
Yeah.
Oh, my gosh. This is where we'll talk about this, and part of why Christopher Nolan matters. Very heavy emphasis on practical effects.
Yeah.
Very heavy. Just really, obviously computers are involved in a lot of what he does.
Yeah.
But they are involved to the absolute minimum.
Right.
In what we can get to this, but in Oppenheimer, when they filmed the Trinity test, the atomic bomb, what you are watching is a miniaturized version that the special effects people dreamed up of an explosion.
Right. Yeah.
It is not, it's not computer generated.
Yeah.
Which is really, and in the Odyssey, which is in theaters now, and we both see it. We recommend that people see it.
Correct. Yep.
Like the Trojan horse, not computer animated.
Right.
They built an effing horse.
Yeah.
And extras dragged it.
Yeah.
It just incredible.
Yeah. Yeah. He likes to minimize CGI. He'll still use it, but he'll minimize it for sure. Especially in that one, in the opening scene, which I remember fondly because I went down to L.A. to see. It was one of the Mission Possibles, but they had an IMAX theater where they were showing the prologue of The Dark Knight Rises. So I went to see.
So you're seeing Ghost Protocol in L.A.
Okay. Yeah. To see primarily the prologue. That's why I went to see it. I happened happened to be in LA at the time, but I thought
Yeah.
I'm not missing this opportunity.
No.
So, but yes, heavy use of practical effects, miniatures as well.
Yeah, right.
To help sell that, and that comes back a little bit in the Odyssey. We'll get into some other practical stuff
Yeah.
that he's utilizing as well, which I find fascinating from my perspective, who
Yeah.
still would like to make films here and there, but I don't know CGI, and
Right.
so like still to be able to do these things practically, I think is incredible.
So cool, especially in a time when when AI is exploding and AI can do all these things, and there's a lot of talk about how AI is going to eliminate all these jobs and eliminate all these things because it can convincingly replicate.
Right.
I think maybe you could dispute convincingly, but can convincingly replicate all these things much more quickly and with fewer hands. And Nolan is one of those directors who's consciously choosing to reject that and is very AI skeptical.
Yeah.
And but believes that people can tell the difference and that people do not like things that were just they don't like fake things.
Right.
And I tend to agree with him. And this is not about Nolan, but it's to give people an idea of the role of heavy, excellent special effects, makeup, and miniatures as opposed to computer animation. Look at the difference between the Lord of the Rings trilogy and the Hobbit trilogy, where Lord of the Rings there's extensive use of miniatures, there's extensive use of just practical effects, makeup on the orcs and goblins and whatnot, and then you have the Hobbit trilogy, which looks much more fantastical.
Yeah,
because
artificial.
Yeah, it looks more artificial.
Yeah.
And that's because they use these fancy computers.
Yeah, I think that's a big thing that he being Christopher Nolan in this case, harped on is I think the longevity of using practical effects. It looks better on film and then lasts longer, as we've seen with like Lord of the Rings as well, especially and we sort of failed to mention this, but I think it's well known, especially now as it's out in the public, his use of film, especially large format like IMAX, going back to The Dark Knight. Now this of you have to, if you're going to use this film stock and I've never used film other than in film. You're doing my film major for like a day. They allow us to do that. Everything's digital now. That's readily available. But using these large format film stocks that just have incredible resolution, you have to be able to sell it a lot better. And you're able to do that with miniatures and I think practical effects potentially better. I mean, this is, we're talking
not experts.
Right. Not as experts, but I think the proof is what we've seen on screen of like, Lord of the Rings seems to be. Yeah,
like you watch it now and it does not look outdated.
Right.
It's like, my gosh, this is pretty incredible.
Yeah.
Man. So Dark Knight Rises,
completes the trilogy. Yeah. Which I'll say, let me interject one thing here. I think one thing that I like about Christopher Nolan is I think he is able to sort of visualize a story and really define what a story is. So, like going back to Batman Begins, he sort of laid the foundation, I think, of like what The Dark Knight Rises would be of, saying, if I may nerd out for a minute, like
please.
He's on the plane after being picked up by Alfred, and he has to be declared undead. But he says like, hey, Batman can be more than a man; it can be a symbol. Yeah. And he completes that with Batman goes on, and someone else takes up the mantle. So I think that ability to see a whole story, even across 3 films, is actually something that I appreciate.
Yeah.
That may not be apparent, but him in interviews has said like, that was the line. I thought, okay, I know where this story is going to end.
By the way, if Dark Knight Rises, like if someone else had been in charge of that, different director, different studio, we would have 6 subsequent films.
Oh, absolutely.
With Robin now as Batman or whatever.
Well, we're seeing that with Marvel and Doomsday, right?
Yeah.
Which I'm still excited to
so
see that. I'll go see
it with great anticipation. And yesterday, so I think it's Comic-Con this last week.
Yeah.
And Ryan Gosling is playing Ghost Rider.
Yeah.
And David Johnson, who's an excellent British actor, is going to be the new Black Panther.
Yeah.
And the thing is, like, I watch this and it's like, Christopher Nolan wouldn't, and it's like, I'll 100% still go.
Oh yeah,
still,
I'll be there.
Ryan Gosling's Ghost Rider, I'm in.
Oh yeah.
Anyway, so after Dark Knight Rises, he then switches. He doesn't necessarily switch gears, but he makes Interstellar.
Yeah.
which I have only seen once. I never saw in theaters, so you can't take me too seriously on this. I don't know why I waited so long to see it. I think in part, so this gets to my preference for I don't like heavy films as much.
Okay.
And I saw the trailer seemed heavy.
Yeah.
And it is a heavier film.
It is heavier, yeah.
But it's a beautiful film.
Yeah.
I know of all his films, so, Prestige is your favorite movie. I know a number of people for whom Interstellar is their favorite all-time film. And this, comes out in 2013, I think.
2013, I think 2014.
Might be 14.
Yeah.
One of those years.
Yeah, because I think from there on, it's like every 3 years he's been releasing a film.
Yeah. But Interstellar, it's a great movie. So he stars Matthew McConaughey. That's their one time working together.
Yeah.
But this is McConaughey at the height of his,
Right.
reconnaissance powers.
Yep.
Dallas Buyers Club, Interstellar, all this stuff. By the way, that started with Lincoln Lawyer, 2011 film, which I think is a lot of fun.
Seems up your alley.
It is. It is right up square, like parked, prime parking position in my alley. Love Lincoln Lawyer. McConaughey, Matt Damon's in it.
First time they worked together.
Yeah, first time they worked together. Anne Hathaway's in it. Second time they worked together.
Yep.
She was Catwoman. And
Michael
Dark Knight
Caine.
Rises. Michael Caine's in it again.
Yep.
I forgot that.
Yeah.
Timothy Chalamet's in it.
Yeah.
Youthful
Before
Timothy
he
Chalamet.
became
Before he
Timothy
became
Chalamet that we know
Timothy
today.
Chalamet.
Yeah.
Jessica Chastain's in it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Is there
Topher
anyone else?
Grace.
Topher Grace.
Oh my gosh.
Got that.
Casey Affleck
Casey Affleck
as well.
Okay, so he's in a couple of Nolan films.
Yeah. So you're starting to see that lots of people want to work with this guy.
Yeah. So there's two things. It's like Nolan, he's happy to use the same people, but then the same people are happy to work for Nolan.
Yeah.
And they're like, okay, that was pretty sick.
Yeah.
And go back.
Yeah.
Because we will talk, I think, about the experience of being on a Nolan set.
Yes.
Doing a Nolan film, because that is different from how it is for other directors.
Yep.
And again, we're not speaking with a ton of like personal expertise or experience, but whatever. So Interstellar. After that is Dunkirk.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so it's a film about and it's cool because it comes out the same year as Darkest Hour.
Yeah.
Gary Oldman, another Nolan guy.
Yeah.
Who's Sergeant Jim Gordon in the Batman trilogy, but
Harry
Darkest
Truman.
Hour
Harry Truman.
and Harry Truman.
Yeah,
You're right.
later on.
There you go. In Oppenheimer, Gary Oldman in Darkest Hour. So Darkest Hour is this terrific story of Churchill, kind of first becoming prime minister right there in the relatively early days of World War II, and the evacuation from Dunkirk, but from his side,
Right. The political side.
Yeah. And then Christopher Nolan's Dunkirk is this. Oh, and Tom Hardy's back. Is this kind of visceral portrayal of the actual evacuation?
Yeah.
Kenneth Branagh.
I was gonna say.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Man, he really does. Yeah.
He works with a lot of people.
Well, it works with a lot of people who like working for him. Dunkirk. Oh, and Mark Rylance. Has he done multiple?
I think that was the only
might
one.
be the only Mark Rylance.
Yeah.
That was a good
I
Mark
remember.
Rylance year.
Oh, yeah.
I think it was Bridge of Spies. Might have been
Around that
right
time.
around
Yeah.
then.
Yep.
Terrific movie.
Yeah.
Also messes with it's not linear.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't have as many thoughts on Dunkirk.
On that one, I remember. There's a few things I remember. One being, you hear he's going to do a World War II movie, and you thought,
Right.
man, how long is this thing going to be? And it comes in a tight 90 minutes. You're like, oh, whoa.
Right.
Whoa, that's different than what I would have thought. And then
Yeah.
the reviews come out. It's like, oh, wow, like he's done it. I thought, I don't know how he got a story of World War II and Dunkirk
Yeah.
in such a small, narrow window. But him being able to shuffle these timelines of different views of this evacuation was impressive. So I think his ability to be efficient with story was impressive there.
Yeah.
Going back to Darkest Hour, if for those listeners listening, if you want to see an interesting take, there's someone who cut together Dunkirk and Darkest Hour
Oh my gosh.
into something, so you're seeing both points of view. So
That would be incredible.
you have to go peruse online to find it. But
And also for those listeners who are not familiar with the story, it really is, it is incredible. Basically, here at the start of World War II, well, not really at the start exactly, but
front half.
Yeah. No.
Yeah,
Oh gosh. Yeah. No. We're talking May 1940. It commences with Nazi Germany invading Poland in September of 1939, but then you're on the continent, and at this point, it seems unfathomable that the the French would surrender about. This is like, if you go to that point in time, you got a bunch of British soldiers on the continent. You have a ton of French soldiers. The French army had, to that point, been considered the strongest army in the world. It's funny given their modern reputation,
right.
but their modern reputation was born here, and the bad reputation, to be clear, and basically, the Blitzkrieg, Germany just goes in, they take out France in a matter of like days, brief weeks, and now you've got all these British soldiers, the vast majority of the British army, who are now stuck in Europe. They're stuck on the European continent, and if England can't get them back to the United Kingdom, to Great Britain, they're essentially losing the war.
Yeah,
it's over in May 1940, and this is like, days after Churchill becomes prime minister, after Chamberlain has resigned in something approximating disgrace, and just incredible what they managed to do to get 330,000 or something like that. Soldiers out. It's just unbelievable. But it's funny, all these decades later, and we're nearing a century later, and you forget how, because of the way things turned out, that but for these kind of little miracles, almost, you would have, it could have gone very differently.
Oh yeah,
and anyway, so Nolan and Darkest Hour focus on this very narrow period and event for a good reason.
Yeah,
it's kind of one of the couple of pivotal moments of World War II.
Yeah, incredible story just outside of the movies. Yeah. For all the things you said,
worth reading about.
I was enthralled by your telling of it just now. Yeah.
Oh gosh, yeah, just incredible. Okay, so next up is Tenet.
Yeah, I'll say Dunkirk is an interesting deviation in that it shows him going into more historical dramas.
Yes.
Like he's not done that, and we'll get into, I think, maybe
like total realism, because Prestige was historical but kind of supernatural.
Right, but now he's like primarily going into, now we just mentioned Tenet, which is not that at all, but the majority of his movies over the last decade have been now based on realistic events or stories that are out there. Realistic is, I'm thinking of the Odyssey, right? Yeah. But like more period pieces and things like that.
Yeah.
So, and I'll get into that, which is interesting, and like how filmmakers, as I think they grow, will go into more that period piece. Yeah.
So, so Tenet, which comes out in 2020, tough year for movies to come out.
Yeah.
So, and it was delayed a couple of times.
Right.
But he, as a good kind of, kind of comrade in arms, in a sense, of Tom Cruise, insisted that it come out in theaters.
Yeah.
But it comes out.
That's right. He did.
Like
he
September
did
2020. Because, by the way, this is Tom Cruise delays Top Gun Maverick's release for a long time so people can go see it in theaters.
Yeah.
And that turned out to be a great decision.
Yeah.
But so Christopher Nolan does not delay it as much.
But instead, he says, "I will not release on streaming," which was the mode of releasing at the time.
But it did not. So I think it was September 2020.
I think something
didn't make as much money.
Right.
But and it was also, it's his worst reviewed film.
Yeah.
I like it.
Yeah, I like it. I don't understand it. I'll say that. I don't know if I understand it.
It's probably the hardest film to understand.
Yeah.
Maybe of all films. Maybe of all films ever.
It may be.
It messes with time in a special way.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
So,
but Kenneth Branagh is back.
Robert Pattinson. First up for him.
Yeah.
Then,
which is interesting, which will feed into his next movie, which we'll get into. Yep.
But yeah, a really, it's a cool, stylish kind of spy thriller.
Yeah.
And Himesh Patel is in it.
Yeah.
His first time.
Yeah.
In it, and it's cool, and kind of gets to one of the overarching themes of Nolan's work, which is that he makes movies about that he wants to make.
Right. Yeah.
He's not thinking too hard about, like, he's not the sort who's going to focus groups and trying to get like a consensus opinion on what kind of movie they like to see. He's making a movie about what he wants to make a movie about, and then trying to make it good enough that people
Right.
want to watch it.
And his ideas. They're not
His
coming
ideas.
from a studio saying, we want this
No,
movie.
no,
made. Yeah.
I do not
yeah.
think studios are coming up
Yeah.
with this.
Yeah.
There's John David Washington in a pretty cool role. Michael Caine's back.
Yep. Verbally.
Ver-
yeah.
No,
oh, you
no,
see him.
You
sorry.
That one meeting.
Yep,
the,
that's
like
right.
The Gentleman's Club
That's
in
right.
London.
He's in Dunkirk, and you hear him just over the radio.
Oh,
Yeah.
I
He's
forgot
in
that.
That's what I was thinking of.
The great retired Sir Michael Caine.
Yeah. Yep.
Many appearances for Christopher Nolan. Tenet is also the first time that he works with Ludwig Göransson.
Yeah,
So he
yep.
switches from Hans Zimmer.
Because
old
he's going to
collaborator.
Dune.
Because he's going to Dune
Yeah.
with Denis
Denis
Villeneuve.
Villeneuve.
Okay.
I don't know French. Sorry.
Yeah, I had always said it like Villeneuve or something, and then I saw him do an interview where he said his name, and I did not catch how he said it, but it did not sound like,
Like
how
you
I
were
said
saying
it. So we'll call him Villeneuve. But Denis, another fantastic director, by
Yeah,
the way,
yeah.
whom I'm very excited to see helm the new James Bond film,
Oh yeah, that's right.
which they should cast. Also excited for Dune 3.
Yeah.
We got a
Coming
big day
later
coming
this
up
year.
in December with
Yeah.
Doomsday and Dune 3. But Tenet, so after Tenet, he makes Oppenheimer.
Yeah. Do you know why he went to Oppenheimer?
I don't.
So going back to Robert Pattinson, I think it was during the filming of Tenet or at the end, Robert Pattinson, gave Christopher Nolan a book of quotes or something, or of Oppenheimer, something like that, which gave him the idea of like, oh,
Did you give him the bio, or you gave him the?
I can't read. I
the
think it
Kyber
was no. I think that was separate. But then that got him the idea of like, oh,
bio? Yeah.
this sounds interesting. And then I think I could be way off on the timeline. I think he read the bio
Yeah.
at that point, and on the cover of that is J. Robert Oppenheimer, which looks a lot like someone he knew.
Yeah.
And Cillian Murphy said, "Okay, this is the idea, and I know who could play
Yeah.
Oppenheimer."
That's another thing about Nolan's casting. He often like reaches out to people to play parts in his movies.
Right.
Not as many like open auditions.
Yeah.
Or you know when like you don't see like in the production background that they'll be posted on Wikipedia. You don't see like 6 different people were attached to star until you finally land on somebody. It's like no, Nolan's like this person be good, and he reaches out to him. And the person's like, yes,
Yeah.
I'll do it.
Yeah.
Oppenheimer. So I loved Oppenheimer.
Yeah.
Oppenheimer won Best Picture, won Best Director.
His first best
His first,
director.
yeah,
And,
First
and
Nolan,
picture. Yeah. Yeah.
Best Actor for Cillian Murphy. Best Supporting Actor for Robert Downey Jr.
A score.
Best Score.
Yeah.
Yeah, it did very well. And this movie, not just about the Manhattan Project. It is about the Manhattan Project, but it's really more, or it's as much about the man who helmed it.
Yeah.
In Oppenheimer. So it's as much a character study as it is like a movie about this kind of pivotal invention and the political discussion that surrounded it. Like that's there, but it's really about Oppenheimer. And it is not the sort of subject you would think about in the abstract and think that's probably $1 billion movie.
Right. Yeah.
You would probably not think that. Yet in Sir Christopher Nolan's able hands, that is exactly what it became.
Oh yeah.
And heck of a movie. For me, again, lawyer, majored in English, but I minored in physics. I love all that stuff. I've read quite a number of books about the events surrounding the invention of the atomic bomb. So, like disclosing that bias and the fact that I think I was predisposed to enjoy this movie. Love the movie, and really incredible. Oppenheimer, the atomic bomb. This great and terrible thing. The scientific developments that informed that it was the end result of about 30 concentrated years, maybe 50 years of some of the most brilliant people in recorded history collaborating intentionally or unintentionally across different countries and continents in pursuit of, first in pursuit of understanding the atom and then quantum theory, and then in kind of reducing these things to a practical application.
Yeah.
And it's just unbelievable. And there are some very interesting books about it. There's this great biography. Kai Bird is one of the authors, and I forget the other one. Martin somebody.
Yeah.
This book about.
I was trying to see if it was on your shelf.
It would be on this shelf somewhere, but I'm not sure where. We might not find it.
See the Dark Knight trilogy up there.
Nice. Did you buy that for me, by the way?
I don't
Or
know.
did I get that for myself?
Yeah, I don't know.
Can't remember. But yeah, great biography. And then there's another book which gets more into the science. Oh, sorry, that biography is of Oppenheimer,
Right.
who's this fascinating figure who is not the most important physicist ever. A brilliant guy who did not, unlike some other peers, really dig as deeply into individual subjects and, get the Nobel Prize for that. And they're like the expert in that thing, and then someone else does it. He was more playing around with a number of different things. Brilliant theorist, spoke a gajillion languages, like learned Sanskrit and all that stuff. Really a dilettante in the, I think, the best sense of the word, where he is just, really fascinated by learning and knows all these different things. Really interesting guy. Not necessarily the best guy morally, personally.
Right. Yep.
But very interesting guy, and the perfect person to head up this project that involved a titanic, incredibly expensive, multidisciplinary effort where you have to coordinate the efforts of all these different scientists working on their own individual kind of tasks or specialties, whatever you want to call it. The best book about that whole process and the science that went into it is probably the Making of the Atomic Bomb.
Yeah.
By Richard Rhodes, I think.
Yeah. It's a great book.
Incredible.
Recommend it as well. Both of these. Yeah.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Both fantastic.
Yeah.
Oh, gosh, Oppenheimer was great.
Yeah. Which is like really his first foray, I think, into just character study. Like you mentioned.
Right. Yeah.
Nolan has made all these huge, entertaining films where I think really the crux of this one is beyond the atomic bomb is like, who is Oppenheimer? Which, titular role. Right,
Sure.
That's what it's
Named
about.
after
But
him. Yeah.
right, but I think he's delving into that, and then we see it more with his most recent film, with the Odyssey as well, where he's like, "What is this? The moral?"
I had intended to say that most of his films, like there are often characters worth emulating, which we'll get into by comparison to certain other directors in a little bit. But for the most part, shallow portrayals of characters in the sense that you're not really digging deep into an individual character. It's like you have to, I think the character of Batman. This is going to sound, people might be able to cynically laugh at this, but it's absolutely true. I think the character of Batman is worth emulating. I think I find Batman inspirational.
I agree.
And I think Nolan's portrayal of Batman is inspirational. And maybe that's more of a character study than you get in like Inception or whatever, but it's still not like a hugely deep character study. You're more learning from, you're being inspired by Batman, by what Batman does.
Right.
Not so much what Batman says or is said about him.
Yeah.
Which gets to, the classic quote from Batman Begins, which shows up again throughout the series. It's not who you are and who you are underneath. It's what I do. It's what you do that defines you.
Yeah.
And then he repeats that back to Kitty Holmes' character.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Anyway, do you have any thoughts about Oppenheimer?
No, great,
Okay.
great film. Yeah. I mean, not much to add other than, I think it was incredible.
Yeah.
Film, and I saw it a couple times, and I think the first time I saw it was sort of interested in the science aspect of it, and then the last hour was like, oh wow, and he's just like in a room talking, and this deposition that
like
they
all
had,
the
right?
Political,
which I thought like, okay, sort of drags, and I think now after watching it multiple times, like that latter half or back third of the movie is more enthralling to me than the front half of it, which I think goes back to like that's what the point of that movie was, is to delve into this character.
Yeah. Right.
A lot more in the moral ambiguity that may have been at play and the moral faults of this person and all that, which I think again he continues to explore, and there's some parallels with Odysseus going into the Odyssey.
So the Odyssey, and so I don't want to spoil much as far as, I mean, it's a 3,000-year-old story.
Right.
He does take some, he takes some liberties with the source material, as one does. And so, I think he intentionally imparts some modern morality onto it, in a sense.
Yeah.
Which personally I think is fine. There have been, and not just fine, but good. And I'm saying I do love Christopher Nolan, so you can take that with a grain of salt. But Greek myth is it does. So they lived in a different world. They had a different sense of the very different sense of the gods, in terms of like what gods were like. Like in a modern kind of Judeo-Christian world, our sense, you think of the divine as perfect or something approximating that, whereas Greeks, their gods were highly capricious, like not good people in any sense.
Right.
Like
Yeah.
they were, and not just like they were prone to things like sleeping around, although they were. It's like, no, they were arbitrary and capricious and mean.
Yeah.
And jealous and all these things. And that kind of plays into what morality was like for the people too. This is not doesn't map totally neatly onto a modern world in terms of having something from which you can draw lessons. Whereas I think his version has some stuff from which you can draw more modern lessons.
Right.
I was referring to Zeus's law, that kind of
Correct.
thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
But the movie, incredible. And so it did. By the way, so we're recording this on the Sabbath, on Sunday, July 26th.
Yep.
And so we're at the end of the second weekend of it being released, and it is doing numbers.
Right.
The box office is doing phenomenally well.
Yeah.
It had just a 30% drop from its opening weekend, which is rare.
Rare, especially post-COVID. Like that doesn't happen.
And it's especially rare for big films.
Right. R-rated.
R-rated
big films. Yeah.
You'd see that for a movie like Obsession, which made a ton of money this spring,
Oh,
because
yeah.
it's like, word of mouth thing. It's not highly anticipated. People aren't going opening weekend. Or like a smaller film that's good that starts out at 10 million. You very rarely see that with a movie that starts out domestically at 123.4 million. So made another 87 million this weekend. It had been making approximately 20 million a day during the week. It looks, even though Spider-Man Brand New Day is coming out this coming weekend,
Right.
very likely to end up north of $1 billion.
Yeah, that's what's projected
worldwide.
to do right now.
Yeah.
Which is crazy. Like I think in New York and these places that have
Yeah.
the whole 70 millimeter IMAX reel formats, they're sold out for weeks, if not months.
Yeah, I
on
think
end,
some
which
were
is crazy.
sold out into September.
Yeah, which is crazy. Which I don't blame them. I would love to see it in those formats. We don't have any of those
that
here.
theater was 2 blocks from our apartment in New York.
Oh, was it really?
Yeah.
Did you go?
I think
At
we went
any point?
once.
Okay.
but not for a film where it really would have mattered.
Right.
Because Nolan is this was the first film ever made entirely using the IMAX 70 millimeter cameras.
Yeah, completely. Like
Completely.
every frame.
From start to
of it.
finish, every single frame.
Yep.
Obviously he's used a lot of it before, but normally what you'd see it used for, it's like you'll have different formats for the dialogue, and then for some action scenes you'll use IMAX. Whereas this one, the whole freaking thing.
Yeah.
But back to the practical effects, and we had talked about a little of this before with the Trojan horse. Everything, the Cyclops,
yeah. It was incredible.
giant puppet.
The giant puppet. Yep.
Then the giants, the Lestrygonians.
Yeah.
Like what they did, the force perspective, which is they used a lot of that on Lord of the Rings with the hobbits.
Yeah. Okay.
But you had like 7-foot stuntmen all wearing armor, and they're going around hacking. Like Odysseus and his crew are in those scenes where you can do it. You're playing from the back. They're played by like much shorter people, like people under 5 feet tall.
Yeah.
And
stunt women. I
stunt
think Matt
women.
Damon's stunt double was a woman.
Yeah, you talked about a stunt woman with unbelievable arms.
Yeah, that was the quote. Which is like that didn't cross my mind during the movie at any point in time.
No,
which just goes to show like
you're just seeing them getting smoked by these Lestrygonians.
Yeah.
If you're familiar with the Odyssey, they actually probably do better against the Lestrygonians than they did in the actual Odyssey.
Yeah.
So, not getting eaten as much.
Right. They just get hacked
Just
this time.
They get out of Dodge as quickly as they can.
Yeah.
But really an incredible really just and this gets to one of my big themes, things I really like about Christopher Nolan films. You can tell that everyone is trying really hard. Everyone's trying really hard. There are no shortcuts taken. They're filming on location in very difficult locations. they have these open sea shots, and it's not like on a soundstage in a big tank, and that's incredible. The Pirates of the Caribbean, they're doing that sort of. That's incredible. It's not to take away from that. They're filming on the freaking open sea.
Yeah. Or in caves. Like they went to caves and actually shot.
It's like we need a cave, so let's go find a cave.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. They have these unbelievable shots of like open beaches on Calypso's Island.
Yeah.
Like you got to go find a place to do that.
Yeah. Yeah.
You need 2,000 extras, or you need 2,000 people in a scene. It's like, okay, we could get 50 and then computer animate. No, we can get 2,000 people.
Yeah.
It's just there's something really cool and refreshing about going to that incredible effort for practical effects, because I think it does add to the believability of these unbelievable things. That's one of my that to that point of believability. I think that is gaining more and more importance the more and more AI kind of dominates our lives, because even though AI, depending on how it's used, can be incredibly helpful, and it's easily accessed, and we've all used it in some way. I think you've used it in medical practice. I've used it in legal practice, and we're like professionals using this for a professional purpose to provide better services to our respective clients. But for a lot of people, it's just like an easily accessed thing. If you need a recipe or a workout plan or whatever to do your homework, hopefully not using it to do that, but a lot of people do. But I think we do, especially with art, we assign, for good reason, less value to stuff that was not created by a human. And Christopher Nolan's work was pretty much all done by humans. And there's something really cool about that. I have another few points on here. I don't know if you want to add.
No,
do you have anything else you want to say about the Odyssey?
I thought that was incredible. So I've seen it twice. One was on IMAX, but our version here in Utah that we have available, and then in Dolby. And I think it was just it comes out on screen. I think just the vastness of what he was trying to create with a whole team of people and make it as real and accessible as we could, being a 3,000-year-old story that still is applicable today, and still him exploring these moral ambiguities that have like parallels to Oppenheimer, going back to that, and like, how are my actions going to be propagated long term, right? So I thought it was an incredible movie just from the story and his ability to capture on camera all these things, which I think is something that I appreciate with his filmmaking since I was introduced to him back in 1998 with Following.
Right. I don't think you were watching Following in 1998.
I was not. No.
8 years old. But yeah, so let me go through. So he, I want to talk a little bit about set experience with him.
Yeah. Yes.
A few big themes, and I want to stay on me, make sure I hit these. So set, and then his topic choices, because I want to get to that, because I think it's part of why he matters. So I'll talk about that in a minute. So on set, there are no cell phones. They're long shooting days, but there's no cell phones, none allowed. He doesn't have one.
Yeah.
I think he only owns a flip phone.
Flip phone, no email.
No email.
Yeah, which is crazy.
Pretty cool. Yeah. So there are no chairs.
No chairs.
Yeah, and by the way, he's doing all this. It's not like there's a director's chair.
Right.
No, you hear his actors talk again and again about how he's doing everything that they have to do within reason. He's not like, demonstrating to Matt Damon how he's going to do a particular scene.
But he's there.
But he's there.
Yeah.
Drinks a ton of black tea.
Yeah.
Apparently.
Yeah.
But I think, again, this gets to the point of, like, it's not old-fashioned for the sake of being old-fashioned. It's old-fashioned for a purpose, where because there are no phones, everyone has to be present. It's like, if you don't have a phone, your options are sit by yourself and contemplate your lines or whatever, or talk to people, and you're there with the people you're there. Film experience, you're often around a lot of people, which is part of why, incidentally, like, it's funny. sex scenes when they're filmed. It's like, you're watching that in the theater. I've never liked that. It's like, that feels like something that could probably be implied, but it's like people might watch that sort of thing on film and think, oh, nice, pretty hot. I bet they enjoyed that. Then you hear them talk about it, and it's like, that sucked. There were like 80 people watching.
Right.
It was really awkward.
Yeah.
We had to do 11 takes.
Yeah.
But so that. But yeah. Anyway, so you're there with a lot of people. Sorry, slight tangent. You're there with a lot of people, and you're all there doing the same thing, rowing the same direction.
Yeah.
And director is no exception. He's not like on his phone.
Right.
He apparently barely owns one.
Yeah.
And the no chairs kind of goes to that too, where this is hard physical work.
Yeah.
And again, there's an egalitarian aspect to his sets, I think, because of this stuff.
Yeah.
It's not like there are chairs for the stars and then everyone else is kind of running around doing their job, which I think people wouldn't really have a problem with. I think that's probably the norm on a lot of sets.
Right. Yeah.
But for him, no, everyone is standing on the same footing.
Right.
You're standing, you're sitting on the ground.
There was a story just with the Odyssey that Matt Damon shared of they were going to these incredible locations and had to hike up to their set, and all the extras had their costumes on and were hiking, and Matt Damon just hiked without his costume and had someone bring it up to him, which was the norm. And when they got to the top, he noticed that he was the only one not wearing his costume and hiking up. He said that will not happen again. And I think it goes back to this of like, it feels like, us never being on a Nolan set, but just from stories and things, that everyone is focused and wanting to be part of this and make it, laser focused. Like, we are going to do this together. And I think the environment that he provides on set with no phones, no chairs, him being there present all the time, really laser focuses everyone to say, this is like, we're all towards a goal.
Yeah.
I've got the whole thing in mind of what that's going to be. And trust me, I think he's able to, through all that, provide an environment to have that happen.
You know what? Let me just add to that. I think that is something that can be so important. That's an important thing outside of the movie context, because the vast majority of us are never going to be on a film set. We're never going to be on a Nolan film set, unless one of our weekend films, which we make, makes it big. Yeah. But we're never going to do that. And but a lot of us are going to be in team environments. Yeah. Maybe that's I don't, in your practice, maybe a little bit.
A little bit, but yeah, I mean, you've got
in the legal context for sure.
Time, yeah.
It used to, and more so in New York, where we had these giant matters for which you needed a big team. One of the coolest times were always, for me, and not everyone would give the same answer because these times were very intense, but it was when we were filing or preparing a large company to file for bankruptcy. And there's one specific one, I can say it was Endo International. They filed for bankruptcy. It ended up being a banner success. But it was cool because for, there's a lot of work for many months. But the week or two before we filed, everyone in the New York office who was working on this, and we had a bunch of other attorneys in other offices, and there were other attorneys in other groups, but every restructuring attorney in New York who was on this, and it's like 15 of us, something close to that. We were all in the office like all day, every day. It was, including Sunday, it was like, go to a little church in the morning, then in, and I was like the last one in.
Yeah.
And on Saturday, the Orthodox Jewish member of the group not in, but then every other day is there the whole time, and everyone was in there together, and it was such a cool team experience where you're doing this very difficult thing. The pressure is very high, but you are all in it, just together, and it meant a lot. The partners who were there were doing that, and were in the trenches with the associates.
Yeah.
Like, that's a really cool thing, and that's the same thing you get on this Nolan set, where the director and the stars, Matt Damon, people who are worth hundreds of millions of dollars, are, Matt Damon didn't do it on day one, but then on day two, it's like, okay, I understand what this is now.
Yeah.
It's like Matt Damon, all these people who are worth hundreds of millions of dollars are doing the same dang thing that the extras are doing. Yeah. And that's, I think, really, really cool.
Everyone buys in.
Everyone buys in.
Which is incredible. I don't know if this is part of the second point, but something I'll mention. I think it's an environment where I think actors, we've mentioned that he works with the same
Yeah.
actors all the time.
Yeah.
And everyone wants to work with them is what I'm gathering.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
you know, we saw with the Odyssey, just people coming in for 3 minutes or 5 minutes on
Yeah,
screen.
like big names for like, it's like
Right.
you have 8 lines.
Yeah, which I think the idea behind him just being a big time director at this point is the workflow on set is something that's conducive to actors. From what I've heard of, you know, their process is they can still experiment, even though it's this big budget film. They can experiment a little bit, and he'll sort of change what he's going to do based on what the actors are doing, and sort of shoot on the fly that way.
Yeah.
And a lot of the actors will say it feels like an independent film made on $250 million, which I think is incredible that he's
Yeah.
able to do that,
Yeah.
juxtaposing against, you know, another great filmmaker, Steven Spielberg, where, you know, everyone wants to work with him as well,
Yeah,
but his
sure.
sets usually, and I love Spielberg. Like if you go back to his movies, he will block, meaning like plan out camera shots and where actors are supposed to be quite extensively, which I think locks some performances in, but people still love it. But it comes out incredible on screen. So if you go back to like Jaws or Last Crusade or even Disclosure Day, his most recent
I
film,
haven't
like
seen it yet.
they're it's good at Spielberg for sure. But their shots, they're just like you can tell they are explicitly planned from day one, and it's going to be this way, and that's how it's going to be, which I think is incredible, and it shows up on screen. But with Nolan, he's like, okay, this is how I sort of want it to do it, but on set, day of, like I have an idea, and if something needs to change, I will change it.
Which is interesting because, one of the things I love about Nolan, I think, or one thing that I think would make him good to work with, and that what you're talking about with Spielberg, is preparation. It's like and this is true again, probably with film and certainly in every other field. Like the more competent people are, the more they know, that the better prepared they are, the better things tend to go.
Yeah.
That can look, that doesn't always look the same. So in Spielberg, you know, you have the meticulous blocking and tackling, all that, and then Nolan, there's some shots he talks about where it's like he had the vision
Right.
for years,
Years,
like the half-buried Trojan horse.
Yeah.
But yeah, there is it's like incredible preparation to, what was the? It's funny. It's like a missionary phrase. It was like basically like preparation begets inspiration, and sort of thing. And that's true in a lot of contexts. But the better prepared you are, the more it can enable you to your mind, your subconscious, to do all these kind of fun things and give you new ways to do things.
Right. This was not to badmouth Spielberg.
No.
In any way.
A great director, and
Absolutely
different.
Just different approaches.
But I might mention Spielberg briefly in what I wanted to talk about, which is topic choices.
Yeah.
Is Nolan is one of the great working directors. I do not think until relatively recently he was considered the sort of auteur that like a Scorsese might be considered. I think that has changed now a little bit because you win Best Picture and Best Director, and now people are like, okay,
and follow up with like the Odyssey.
The Odyssey. It's like okay, you get to be spoken about in the same sentence. You're not just a remarkably skilled and interesting popcorn director.
Yeah.
But so Scorsese, I think, is an incredible director and has made a bunch of incredible films. And I've not seen all of them. I have seen quite a few.
Yeah.
What I don't like about Scorsese is that a huge number of his films center on awful people doing awful things. They're like the movie Casino. It's like, did the world get better because the movie Casino was made?
Yeah.
I do not think that it did. Did the world get better because he made The Irishman? Doubt it. Goodfellas? Doubt it. Wolf of Wall Street? Really doubt it. It's like film after film after film, these iconic Scorsese pictures. I don't remember Taxi Driver well enough to say whether...
Similar.
Yeah, it's like not making you're not watching Taxi. Basically, when people... let's put it this way. Someone says he was inspired by Taxi Driver, you usually find that out when the person has been arrested for a crime. Like it's usually not like you're hearing that ahead of time.
Yeah.
It's like, this guy seems like a fun hang.
Yeah.
It's usually like the confession.
This makes
It's
sense
like,
now.
yeah, I was inspired by Travis Bickle. And Dexter. It's like, all right, that explains why he killed those people. And just all this sort of bad behavior. There's some exceptions. I think Scorsese, Killers of the Flower Moon. I think that's an important film.
Yeah.
God, that was made a difficult movie.
Yeah.
Does not show a lot of good people necessarily, but it shows an important this is white Oklahomans taking really bad advantage of the Native Americans who had been shoved onto reservations, but then this land that turned out to be very rich with oil. Anyway, that's a very good film. And again, a lot of these films that Scorsese has made, like Goodfellas, The Departed, that's a great movie. That's a great movie.
Yeah.
Do you leave it like feeling better about the world or
inspired
in some way? I don't. No, I don't think so.
Good filmmaking.
Great filmmaking.
Yeah.
Great movie with an unbelievable cast and an incredible Jack Nicholson role. Just incredible writing. It's so good. But again, you don't walk out and think like, I'm gonna go like you might feel like I'm gonna go hug my wife because you like need to be cleansed. You're not thinking like I'm gonna go hug my wife because I was just moved by like watching Interstellar and watching the relationship that he had with his daughter. Like this a different vibe.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. Again, shout out to Mr. Scorsese and his. He made a lot of very good films.
You're welcome anytime.
Yeah, well, yeah, happy to have you on the podcast. I'm really kind of generally happy to watch your movies, but just don't think they're as like good for humanity.
They're different topics.
Different topics.
Yes.
Yeah, and I think from a normative perspective, I do think it's. I am glad that Christopher Nolan's movies exist because I think they do tend to. They are, on balance, more inspirational, more aspirational. He tends to make movies about very competent, successful people.
Yeah.
Which I do not mind personally, because again, there's that aspirational sense of it where it's not that everyone is that way or can be that way or should be that way, but seeing that I feel inspired to try and be that way and to develop competency.
Yeah.
And and his characters, even the morally ambiguous ones, like Oppenheimer, for example, or Odysseus, are admirable in some way.
Right. Principled.
Maybe principled or especially skilled.
Yeah.
Or, not perfect, but conscious of their imperfection and maybe wanting to be different.
Yeah.
Like Odysseus, for example, I think has something of a maybe a slight change in heart or something as you're going along. There is a journey.
Yeah.
There, which is kind of an adaptation from the source material, which is more just like episodic. And these are the things which happen. But yeah, that's one of my. So when I say like why Christopher Nolan matters, I think one of the reasons he matters is that he makes films that have made the world incrementally better for having been made. If that, I don't know if I could defend that in front of everyone, but I do. Yeah. I do generally believe that.
I would agree, and I think what I find fascinating, and I'll go back to Spielberg for a sec.
Okay.
We know a lot about Spielberg, his upbringing.
Yeah.
He even made a movie about it in The Fabelmans, right? Yeah. Like his parents had marital troubles and things like that, and the relationship with his parents was affected by a lot of that. And I think he admits maybe knowingly or through questioning and things like that. A lot of his movies are him working through those relationships. So like in Jaws, like there's a relationship between Brody and his son, and then you get into like Close Encounters of the Third Kind, where there's science and art like trying to communicate together, which I wish I drew that conclusion. It was an interview that's incredible where someone asked this question to Spielberg and he's like, yeah, that is what's happening. I did not even like put that together until now. So he's working through a lot of things, but we sort of know a lot of his history.
I was going to say another great father-son relationship is Last Crusade.
Oh, yeah.
Classic.
How could I forget? Yeah. What I find fascinating is we know with Nolan a lot about him, but he's also still an enigma. He's sort of a mysterious guy that doesn't put a lot out into the public. He doesn't have
he does not.
A cell phone or anything. I think he does that intentionally through what he said is he sort of likes to keep things about who he is a little private so that the movies stand on, so it's interpreted by us as the audience.
Let me add so with the topic choices, like his films kind of being aspirational, inspirational, all that, he is, I'm sure he has political views. I think I've seen things about he has donated to Democratic candidates, which probably should not be shocking considering the profession he's in.
Yeah.
But nothing he does, I think, is really explicitly political or charged in a certain way. And often when people ascribe political motives to him, I think they are overstating it by some margin.
Yeah.
He's fairly closely guarded, doesn't talk a lot about his personal life. Again, there's no social media, there's nothing like that.
Right.
He's when he's a guest on shows, he's a very polite guest. He's not a particularly, none of his movies are really funny.
Right. There's humor in it, which is always interesting. But they're not.
There'll be funny parts.
They're not comedies.
But they'll be. They tend to be more intermittent.
Oh yeah.
And like he's not sitting down like Adam McKay or someone and like trying to write a bunch of jokes.
Yeah.
And sometimes like the jokes are. Like they play well in the theater and they're funny enough, but they're like little throwaway lines.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Just thinking of some of the Batman
Oh, yeah.
humor. It's like not particularly humorous films in the like not Marvel funny.
Yeah.
Not Joss
Not
Whedon.
quips or things.
No,
It's
there's
just
no
sprinkled.
quips.
Yeah.
Very few quips. He's just kind of a serious guy.
Yeah.
And doesn't talk a ton about himself. He's really interested in film and the process and all this, and really interested in these ideas that he spends ages working on. I mean, you talked about Inception, the third act. He was stuck on it for like 10 years.
Yeah. Something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Multiple of his films, I think, like Tenet was like that. He said that multiple times. Yeah.
Yeah. Which is, So the point being that, he is kind of an enigma. Or like
Which I think is why it's fascinating, the topics that he chooses to explore. Is it him working through something himself, or is it for us as the audience to try and work, and he wants to present it in a way? And I don't know, because we don't know a lot about that. But I find it fascinating in that way to then think about from our perspective of, it's sort of, is it uplifting despite these morally ambiguous characters more recently? Yeah. Like, what are we gaining from it? To like Interstellar and the importance of love and relationships and all these things. Like, what is it that he's trying to say or work through? Because I think all of us in any art form that we're going to explore try to work through something or express something in a way. Yeah. And his choice of topics seems to be very, as we've seen across the board, quite variable. And I think,
quite varied.
And I think it's fascinating to see.
Yeah, quite varied, but then also kind of universal. Like there's nothing like really teensy and specific. It's like a lot of it's like the themes of love and relationships between father and daughter and all that.
Yeah, like there's through lines for sure.
Yeah, through lines, and they are very like that. That's the sort of thing to which a lot of people can relate on some level.
Yeah,
and I think I was just thinking about that. Like my personal preferences in films, going back to like my own personal pyramid of rewatchables. It's like films, not just in which I see myself, but in which I would like to see myself. And it is not a coincidence that my three favorite most rewatched films, Batman Begins, Casino Royale, and Iron Man, came out in that order. Came out in high school.
Yeah.
During this period of flux and growth and change and all that, and kind of imprinting on these fictional characters.
Yeah.
Imperfect, I should note. I'm not trying to copy every aspect of these fictional people's, personalities and all that, and not trying to copy every behavior. But there were aspects that like they were important to me because of me, not because of the film so much. And I think, but I think Nolan has made an above average number of films onto which a lot of people can imprint and find something in some way. Yeah. Whereas again, Scorsese, I don't know.
Different imprinting.
Like we like to the extent you're imprinting on a Scorsese film, there are a couple where it's like, oh, okay. And then most of them, it's like we really, we don't think you should do
Explore
that.
this further.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, be the opposite of
Yes.
what you are seeing on screen. Let's see. Do I have any other notes? Oh, one kind of interesting theme that I think is that he has explored multiple times is themes of self-sacrifice or self-denial. Not always positive.
Yeah.
Like in The Prestige,
Mm-hmm.
there's a lot of self-denial.
Yeah.
Not clearly positive. I think.
Yeah.
Like these two characters, Bale and played by Christian Bale and Hugh Jackman, they are obsessed with with their trade
Yeah.
as magicians, and to a point where it clearly harms them
Yeah. Oh yeah.
to a very great
Yeah.
extent.
Yeah.
But yeah, sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna say, yeah. No, I think I was just thinking of, as you brought that up, into his other films, like Batman.
Yeah,
It does that
huge
throughout,
self-sacrifice.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Interstellar
Mm-hmm.
as well with
Yep.
McConaughey's character.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's interesting. I hadn't thought about that. I think that's
and
a good point.
there's a bit
Yeah.
of that in Inception too.
Yeah.
When cop goes
Yeah.
down at the end,
Yeah.
and that's kind of what it's like how he kind of gets out almost is
Yeah.
kind of that
Yeah.
point. I think Tenet, Robert Pattinson's character.
Oh yeah. That's yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, so there's a decent bit of
Yeah.
that.
I like that. I had not thought about that.
Thanks. Yep, made an observation. Good observation. Let's see. I like that he's. I like. We've talked about this a little bit before, but I like that he's absolutely not thinking too hard about whether everything will make money.
Right. Yeah.
Everything he does makes money except Tenet, which COVID. So.
Asterisk. On
Yeah,
that.
asterisk, huge asterisk. But like Oppenheimer made a bunch of money. Odyssey is making a bunch of money. Interstellar didn't make as much domestically, but made a bunch of money.
Right.
And has been re-released. Has become
Right,
kind
has
of
a-
a
yeah.
cult classic.
Oh,
in a
yeah.
sense. Made a bunch of money. The Batman movies, Dark Knight and Dark Knight Rises, made a bunch of money. Inception made I think a good amount of money. Basically, everything he's done for a good long while has made a lot of money.
Right.
But not all of these. You wouldn't immediately think like, oh yeah, I'm sure that'll make a lot of money.
Right. That's like an idea that's $1 billion idea.
Yeah.
And immediately.
Like Batman, sure, but well, you might not have thought that before about Batman,
Right.
But since he did it, now it's like, oh yeah,
Yeah.
and Spider-Man, and
Yeah.
it's like now
Yeah.
superhero movies
Or like Oppenheimer.
very bankable. Yeah, Oppenheimer. Are you kidding?
Right. That was made
We're
for.
gonna have Cillian Murphy play,
Right.
a famous physicist, and it's gonna be about the Manhattan Project, but largely about Oppenheimer. It's gonna make $1 billion. Like, no, you just wouldn't, think that, or
Yeah.
like the Odyssey. Again, probably mostly because it's Christopher Nolan,
Yeah.
and yeah,
Because there's been adaptations that I've not seen in the past
sure,
from
yeah.
like the
Well,
70s or.
Troy.
Right.
Let's compare Troy. Troy came out in 2004, had a shocking cast, like so many famous. It's
Yeah.
Brad Pitt at peak Brad Pitt.
Right.
He
Yeah.
is Brad Pitt is the most famous point of Brad Pitt's life, and he looks fantastic. And or this Orlando Bloom at the height of his fame,
Right.
Eric Bana at the height of his fame, and you have these great older actors in Peter O'Toole and Brian Cox and Brendan Gleeson. Brendan Gleeson might be a little offended to be called older, but a little bit not like not hot in the Brad Pitt sense.
Yeah.
And that movie, I think it might have made 400 million worldwide, but which sounds like a lot of money, but I'm not sure it made money.
Right. Especially against its budget, which I think was pretty
I
high.
think it
Right.
was
So
very-
it's not gonna make a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It had a huge budget. Yeah, I'm not 100% sure it made its budget back. And so that's a recent major production of, adaptation of the Iliad, not the Odyssey, but
Right.
essentially the same source material.
Yeah.
And they also, there is a couple interesting points. One, so the idea of, it's just interesting the choices movies make. So one of the casting issues that some people online are grumpy about is Lupita Nyong'o as Helen.
Yes.
It's like, nah, she's not hot enough to play Helen. And whereas Diane Kruger, this German chick. She was hot enough to play Helen in 2004. But in both movies, don't want to spoil too much, but it makes clear that while Menelaus was quite enamored with his wife and was very grumpy that Paris took her, all of the various Greek city-states going to war together was not for Menelaus's wife and honor. Like that's a pretext.
Right. Ulterior motives.
Ulterior motives. Clear in both of those adaptations. And I think part of that is when you start to write, you're like, all right, so we have this woman was so beautiful, everyone went off to get her back. You realize, what? That just, in a modern world, that just does not make a ton of sense.
Right.
Whereas going to war because someone wants to, free up trading routes or get Troy as this great colony, it's like, oh, yeah.
Makes sense.
That makes total sense.
Yeah.
Oh, you see that. Yeah, like
Even
classic
now.
imperialism.
Yeah.
It makes a lot of sense. Yeah, very, very, very relevant. Let's see. Did I have anything else I wanted to say? This gets to the realism. So two last points, and then we'll call it good. It's actually been a long podcast.
Yeah.
I think more so than in Marvel movies, you get the sense his heroes are in trouble. I was thinking about it. I was watching some clips from Dark Knight. It's like, this is not going well. Dark Knight Rises, this is not really going well.
Right.
Like for the good guys, because it's Batman, you're like, the good guys will eventually win. But for a lot of it, it's not going well, and not in like a fun, Marvel, like, oh, they'll get him.
Yeah.
Way. It's like, no, it's going badly. Bad things have happened.
Yeah.
That cannot be undone.
Yeah. Yeah. And how they maneuver through that is interesting.
Right.
Yeah. Because you don't know if they're going to get out on the other end or how they, what it'll be on the other side.
His Batman has been through some stuff.
Yeah.
Goes through a lot of stuff that you see and he is affected very much by it.
Yeah.
Like really a lot.
Yeah.
Inception, it's really not clear how it's going to work out until it
works out. Yeah.
Ultimately does or doesn't.
Or doesn't. Interstellar. Goes through a lot.
Yeah. Really don't think this is going to go great.
Yeah.
It's just I don't know. It just kind of, and Prestige has a, lovely twist right there.
Yeah.
Right there at the end. Okay. Do you have any additional thoughts you want to add on why Sir Christopher Nolan matters?
Why he matters. I will say, as a lover of film, he's not, for all the reasons we've mentioned, I think he's my favorite director. That he tries to really explore ideas that I think are fascinating for me. Mm-hmm. I think what he tries to put on screen and the way he does it is something that certainly talks to me and my soul. I think he has taught me that, going back to like The Prestige and still throughout his movies, of, for me, movies are very much an active process, and I think that I appreciate his approach to movies and filmmaking and scripts, because it makes me feel like, okay, I have to go in here and I can't just lay back. I love those movies where I can just go and not have to think, but in his movies I feel like, okay, I'm gonna go in and take it in.
Just thinking, it's like there's some movie, there's the classic high school thing, like you go into a movie and then it's just like you're just making out or whatever. If you make out for almost any of a Christopher Nolan movie, you will have no idea what is happening.
Yeah,
you will be lost completely.
Double date with Prestige, if that would happen, I wouldn't be here. Yeah, right. yeah. But I think it's just like active watching, viewing of his movies is very much appreciated by me, and I think a lot of people, it sounds like, that you can go in and see multiple viewings. I mean, I've seen, like I said, the Odyssey twice, and on second viewing it's like, oh, I see that theme a little better of like what he's trying to lay down. There's plenty of other filmmakers that I love and watch their movies, but for some reason, I think for all the reasons that we've mentioned, and his journey through his filmography and approach just makes me appreciate movies a lot more. And I think that's why he matters. And it's evident that through the money that Oppenheimer, now the Odyssey, is making, like, audiences seem to be agreeing with that to a degree. Right? Yeah.
It's like whatever else you can say about Christopher Nolan, it's like he's probably going to leave this thinking like, I got to be on the right track somehow, because I'm making just
Right.
scats and oodles of money.
Yeah.
You know, yeah. Well, let's close with that. It just fun to talk about why Christopher Nolan matters, and our love for Christopher Nolan films. Incredible, and go see the Odyssey.
Yes.
Like, will it be your favorite movie ever? I don't know. Maybe,
but see it in theaters.
Maybe not. But see it in theaters if you can, because it is just a really cool movie that took an incredible amount of effort from a lot of people, and what they pulled off is really kind of amazing. And people should be honored and rewarded for swinging big, especially when they make contact, so to speak.
Hit out of the park.
Hit out of the park. And did.
If only he had email, we could have had him here.
Yeah, dang it. Yeah, maybe he has an agent. He appears
I think
on
it's
shows.
Yeah, I don't know who books that, but someone's in contact with him.
We'll get him.
Yeah.
All right. And with that, thank you to Dr. Justin Coles, our guest for the day, and
thank you for having me.
Oh,
this was a lot of fun.
Of course. This is what this
Anytime.
really was. All right, and that was the interview. Thank you very much for listening. If you wouldn't mind, please do leave a review for the podcast. I believe those are important. And subscribe to the newsletter, which will be linked in the show notes, or can be found at neverclosetheinquiry.substack.com. Thanks.